Hey!
Oh, God!
We're back!
We're on camera.
Hi.
I didn't think that thing worked. I haven't been here in so long.
Who knew?
How are you? I'm Wes Bradshaw. He's Edward Green.
Hi.
Together, we formed the all-new sports show.
Like Voltron.
Man, kind of shocked me when that thing came on. Folks, we have not been in these seats in a few months now.
Yeah.
The last time you saw us, I believe we were wrapping up football.
Yeah, we were doing the our Christmas spectacular.
It was, meh.
It was very
It was all right.
Meh.
It was all right. Nothing great by any means.
No.
I was not quite as beardy at the time. My hair was much shorter. I've refused to lose ever since then.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's a playoff beard. For the
playoff
great
beard.
playoff push our basketball team's made.
Yeah,
We love you guys.
I love you guys, seriously. It's just one of those years.
Yeah.
But folks, we are back to you live tonight. One night only,
Yeah.
because we'll be back on a baseball field. We'll be on a baseball field starting this week. Very happy. Excites. It's going to be in the 70s this week.
Dude, I saw one
and
report.
I'm not just talking about the music played between innings.
Wednesday might hit 80.
I'm bringing out my shorts this week. That's all I can
Nice.
say. You folks in Wilson, ready to see Wes coming to your medical need home. You ready to see some leg this week, you lucky devils, you. Oh, man. Ed, tonight we are joined by the suavest of all the
Yes.
Ravens. This is Rico.
Rico's
Rico, he told me he believed in Rocky Mount.
Yes.
I believed in Rocky Mount. Ed will tell you I did call for
Wow.
leg 2 of the Triple Crown.
Yes, you did.
Even when they were 0-13. We're going to get into...
Did.
We're going to talk a little basketball there,
We will.
folks. Coming up tonight, we have got Jimmy Lewis from the Wilson Times. We've got Josh Wallfish from the Rocky Mountain Telegram.
That's true.
Almost said, we were talking Justin Hyde earlier. I
Yeah.
almost said Justin Hyde.
He's way gone.
He's way gone. He's with another basketball group. Those guys are going to be calling in tonight. We're going to wrap up basketball season for you folks. Maybe get a little diamond talk in there going in. Rocky Mountain Telegram, of course, releasing their baseball preview today. Some exciting action coming up this spring and summer for you. You know, when you think about it, baseball actually our longest season.
Yes.
Because, we go spring and then we go right into the summer with a lot of rec league. Not just rec league, but of course your travel teams, your legions.
Yeah.
I guess if we're doing that, your Babe Ruth, I guess.
Somebody is.
Somebody's going to play baseball this summer, wherever you got to go. And then, of course, folks, your most exciting minute of the week for the sport that never stops, that never takes an off season. That's right, Euros this June and July. We love you, France. I'll never say that again.
Nope.
But folks, we're going to talk about it all today. Big thanks, of course, to all of our sponsors, as you will see scrolling across the bottom of the screen tonight. Those are the guys that bring you the All New Sports Show each and every week. Folks, before we get started tonight, Ed Green, put us over.
Of course. YouTube.com/The All New Sports Show. That's where you can find all our videos, including past episodes of our show. Even this one will be archived right there. You can also get us on Facebook, Facebook.com/All New Sports Show. Hit us up on the Twitter @All New Sport Show. Blame Twitter for the name. You can email us allnewsportsshow@gmail.com. Mail us letters and parcels to 1701 Sunset Avenue, Suite 201, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, 27804. Finally, if you're interested in that football we were talking about a few seconds ago, and I'm talking about the one you actually kick with your foot all over the place.
No pads
Sometimes
necessary.
fall over it for no reason. You can get us on the @AFA Pod. That's the A Foreign Affair Pod on the iTunes Music Store, ngscsports.com, and podbean.com.
We also talk television.
Yes, we do.
Give our
The People versus O.J. Simpson, as well as Join or Die with Craig Ferguson.
give our quasi-political views.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares.
And wrestling.
And we talk the greatest sport known to man, professional wrestling.
It's not fake. It's just predetermined.
It's a TV show.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, folks, but tonight we're going to jump in. This is somewhat of a basketball wrap-up.
Yeah.
A little introduction to baseball. A little bit of everything. As you see, folks, Ed has the MacBook tonight.
Yes.
So he's going to be he's going to be my navigator as I pilot this ship.
Call me the, I forgot the guy's name who has the boat on the river Styx. Ferries people to the land of the dead.
I know you're talking about what Sticks.
Not the band. Anyway, let's go. Where do you want to go first on this voyage?
Ed, let's talk a little bit of basketball. Are we in the boys? Are we in the girls?
I'm in the boys right now. I'm in 1A.
Let's talk a little 1A boys. Of course, we have one team in the playoffs in the 1A boys. That was Tarboro. Tarboro had a good season. Reggie Bess doing a really good job for the Vikings. We saw them once
We played the North Edgecombe.
Right, saw them play North Edgecombe on our high school basketball game of the week that we had going up for about the last 2 months, which we know some of you folks have been enjoying here on Sunday nights, the replays of that. And hopefully you saw Tarboro. But a Tarboro team that was athletic.
Oh, gosh.
And they were deep.
Oh, a lot of football players coming over, making a decent transition into basketball. You could see athleticism. One thing I thought that was kind of stood out for us was our moment of wow from that game really came from the B team. What we call the B team.
Tay Randolph starting, and, he played about 4 minutes that game.
Yeah, and was absolutely dominant for those 4
one
minutes.
of our dunks of the season.
Amazing. And it really just struck me how deep that team was. I think you're right. I think they didn't have enough pure basketball talent to compete with some teams. They ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs, 68-57 at Riverside as a 12-21 matchup. But I think Tarboro has a lot of room to grow. I think, as you said, Reggie Best is really good at motivating them. He coached them up really hard, very intelligent. When we talked to him after that game against North Edgecombe, I think Tarboro's in good hands. It's can they get those true basketball athletes to put them over the hump? Because in 1A, you only need a few. And if you have a couple more really good athletes, as Tarboro definitely does have, you mix those together, you can have a winning formula.
Absolutely. That'll be a team to keep a lookout for. They also had some youth on that team.
Yes.
It wasn't a bunch of seniors. They had some good seniors, don't get me wrong, but they have guys that are coming back next season. I think we could be seeing a season of growth coming for the Tarboro Vikings. Let's move over to the 2A ranks. We had a pair of teams in the 2A, both of our 2A teams.
One really scraping into the playoffs as the 31st seed in the East. But they gave Fairmont, the number 2 seed, one heck of a ball game. That was Southwest Edgecombe, who we also saw this year on the basketball game of the week.
Play the other 2A team who made it. We'll get
Beddingfield. But Southwest Edgecombe traveled down to Fairmont, down by Lumberton, and took an 84-81 loss. But again, Fairmont, so far this season, 26-1. And they hung with them the entire way. Actually had a lead out of the first quarter by 6 points. So
that was the payback game from football.
Yes. But we were very impressed, I think, with Southwest Edgecombe, considering that, they ended up at about 8-14 overall.
Absolutely.
And I thought, when we saw them, again, another team that, had some good athletes on the team, had some good basketball ability. I think they struggled to find depth. I think that was one thing that Tarboro had that Southwest didn't really have was depth. But they were very fundamentally sound from what we saw.
A team that they didn't have a ton of size. They did have a big sophomore who I think is a player that they're looking to definitely take a next step role in the future. They had some good players. They weren't great. They didn't have a ton of size. They didn't really have a ton of shooting.
Yeah.
But they were scrappy. I'll give them that. That was a team that they went at you for the full time.
Coach Langley really had them
every
hard.
8-minute quarter, they gave you everything they had. And, we saw that against Beddingfield. A Beddingfield team who, we'll talk about in just a moment, they made the playoffs.
Yes.
They were a much higher seed than Southwest. But Southwest, on the night we saw them, and, of course, as we know, anything can happen on any given night.
Absolutely.
Southwest blew the doors off of a good Beddingfield team. And I don't know, maybe if we saw the peak night of Southwest, maybe. Fairmont, as you said, obviously got a good ball game from them. But they were joined in the 2A playoffs by their conference mates, conference rivals. That was Beddingfield, who they also dropped the title.
Yeah, this one was at home, though. Beddingfield, the 12th, took on Bertie County, the entire county. 83-80 was the final there.
Big county.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people.
No. Beddingfield can take a little bit of heart from that loss. Bertie then had to go to the 5th seed Northside and lost 84-39. But Beddingfield, I think the thing that was striking about, and again, that could have been just a one-off because this was a team that did finish 17-6 overall. Just didn't seem like they really came to play that night. But this is a talented team. We saw a lot of talent, even in that loss. They had a lot of size too.
Absolutely, they did. We didn't. We did not have our ears to the ground very much at Beddingfield this year. I mean, we'll just tell you the truth. We didn't. But I would just have to feel that they were disappointed with that first round loss to Bertie at home with the group of guys they had. Thought it was a good basketball team that all I can say, maybe it just wasn't their night again.
Yeah.
But I think that first round loss probably stings a little bit for betting people.
And I would wonder, and this is, of course, again, this is from just seeing one game and knowing the result of this one. I wonder how well that team does with adversity. Because it seemed like when Southwest kind of came out, because Bedingfield should have beaten Southwest, and that was what, because I think at that point Bedingfield had one loss.
They had just lost
their first game.
Their first
to Farmville Central.
Have they lost back to back actually?
No, I think that made it back to back.
I thought they had lost to Farmville Central. Right. No, they had dropped the game to, was it Hunt?
Yeah, you're right.
They dropped the game to Hunt. Tournament. That was their first loss, and then turned around and got the doors beat off of them by Farmville Central, and they had to turn around the next night and play South.
That was tough. But I wondered how resilient that team could really be, and that may have kind of snuck up with them in Bertie County. Of course, West, the 3A boys bracket is the one that saw our first, our farthest boys team, and that was the Big East champions this year, Southern Nash, who made it all the way to the fourth round of the playoffs.
That's right, sectional final. Had a real scare in the first round as the highest seed team out of the Big East. Had a real first round scare. I got through, I believe, Western Alamance in round 2.
Sorry, they made third round. I'm sorry, they made it to the third round. I was looking at the wrong Southern.
Final. It's okay. Yeah. That's Southern Durham, I believe.
Yes.
And then I believe it was Eastern Alamance.
Eastern Wayne.
Was it Eastern Wayne who ended up knocking them off?
Oh, no, Eastern Wayne was their second round game. Eastern Alamance was their third.
Eastern Alamance was the third round game. Western Alamance was the first round game. Eastern Alamance was the number 1 overall seed. Actually lost in the regional final. They were number 1. Yeah, they were the number 1 in the East, and that was where Southern's season went and ended. I was impressed with Southern this year.
Yeah.
You know, they had some really good basketball players. Marquise Wright.
So good.
Maybe your Big East Player of the Year before it's said and done. By the way, that list has come out. No one's told us. So, you know.
Why would they?
They're media. So, you know, Marquise Wright, they had the shooter.
Yeah, Damien.
Damien.
Who really stretched that team out.
That's right. You know, they had a pretty good inside-outside. They still didn't have a lot of size. Had a big guy, Lamont Strickland, coming off the bench. We didn't see him play very much. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think Southern maxed out their potential for this season.
I mean, they lost to the number 1 seed in the conference, or in the East.
Yeah.
That's not that bad. 17-9, Southern Nash finished on the season. None of their losses were that shocking, I guess. But to make it to the third round,
just the fact that none of the losses is shocking. Just the fact that everyone in the Big East, I believe, beat each other this year, pretty much.
Because I think 6-4 won it.
Yeah, 6-4 won it. 6-4 from a lot of people.
Yeah, including another team in a theme that really continued. You know, we lost a lot of teams in the first round of the playoffs from our area. A lot of these games that were close. This was another one in a 16-17 matchup at the Capstone. Rocky Mount fell to Cedar Ridge, 81-77. But West, for a team that at one point was 0-13, to basically be within, you know, a bucket of advancing to the second round of the state playoffs is maybe Coach Gainey's best coaching job ever, maybe save for one of the finals runs.
Definitely a year for Rocky Mount where it was a transition season at Rocky Mount. For about the last 5-6 years, Mike Gainey has been blessed with a combination of size, athleticism, and just some really doggone good basketball players. They've been able to play inside, outside. You know, 2 years ago was the biggest Rocky Mount team I had ever seen, where they were going 6'7", 6'6", 6'6" across the front line. That year, the guard play was a little iffy. The next season, the guard play is really good, but there's no size.
No size.
And this season, coming into the season for Rocky Mount, there was no size, and there were no proven guards. And for about 13 games, we saw that. It was not pretty. Rocky Mount had a kind of an allergy to scoring the basketball.
They just needed to get to 60.
Yeah, if they got to 60, they were fine. And the problem was they weren't ever getting to 60.
Right.
And then about halfway through the conference, or getting into the conference season, things are starting to come together. Things are starting to click. And Mike Gainey found a lot of guys who contributed. Never had a standout superstar on this team, but he had a handful of shooters. He had some undersized inside guys Yeah, you want to call Artavis Richardson and
Shrug.
Sherrod Green undersized?
You call him undersized.
I call him undersized in the height department. The fact that both of them are probably Division I football players that play in the front seven and maul people for a living. They were very strong.
It's when he goes to take a charge and the other guy just bounces off of him and they still call a charge.
Call because you just know what happened.
Yeah.
But it was a Rocky Mount team. It was not a vintage Rocky Mount basketball team. But I think at the end of the day, Mike Gainey goes home. He is definitely proud of this group.
Certainly.
And to me, the biggest thing was just, mentally, 0-13 teams are usually shutting it down.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, forget this. It's over. We got nothing. To go from 0-13 to a tie for the conference championship, basically to claim a share of the conference championship and to get to the finals of the Big East Conference tournament and take Southern Nash to the limit in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I give kudos to this Rocky Mount team. They could have rolled up and died, but they did anything but.
Well done for them. Real quickly, finishing off 3A, Hunt as the 28th seed went to Southern, lost 78-53. Nash Central, who was at one point, one win away from winning the entire conference.
Would have had that home game.
Yeah. Nope, they had to go to Southern Lee and lost 69-50. Fike got in as a 29th seed. They lost to at Ashboro 69-48. And finally, Northern Nash, who was supposed to be, this was supposed to be the year, just like it was supposed to be Arsenal's year. This was supposed to be Northern's year.
Even though I do still think they're actually a year away, but next year Northern could be really good.
71-59, lost to Jacksonville. Even though they finished 6th in the Big East, they got the 4th best seed at 23, but just couldn't get a win.
And this was a Northern team, folks. Don't think, I know y'all know my allegiances here, but this is a Northern team that we saw at Christmas, and we were like, this is a really good team. Now, we'll also say this at Christmas. Ed Green looked at me and said, this is a really good team that has holes.
Yes, I said if you can pressure Northern Nash, if you can make them run, if you can get them out of rhythm, they're very beatable.
And by the way, that's what ended up happening when Rocky Mount played Northern Nash later in the season. Rocky Mount with that press, ate Northern alive. I do believe this is a Northern team that next year with me and Northern Nash. I think next year, kiss of death. I think that could be a big season for Northern. They're going to have a lot of seniors with a lot of big-time playing experience. So it'd be a good group. Let's
fly through, no offense to them, but let's fly through the women's brackets here. Weldon defeated Tarboro 47-36 in the 1A. That was our lone 1A team. In the 2A, we had Beddingfield as a 28th seed go to Northside and lose 42-21. Southwest Edgecombe won their first round game and then lost at the number 1 seed East Bladen 71-43. And then finally in the 3A, we had another team go to the third round. Unfortunately, couldn't get to that fourth round this year for our teams. Northern Nash made it to the second round but lost to Terry Sanford, the number 1 seed, 59-40. Nash Central's girls, as the 4th overall seed in the East, lost to Northern Guilford, a team that really, if we never hear Northern Guilford again, it won't be too soon. 57-51 loss at home. And finally, Fike lost 71-43, also to Northern Guilford. And Rocky Mount, I believe is in the bottom half, they won their first round game, 54-31 over Lee County, and then lost to the number 3 seed Rockingham, 50-43. Tough break for the girls, but they were Big East champions.
Another group for Rocky Mount, Rocky Mount Big East tournament champions, Big East regular season champions. Rocky Mount girls, another team to watch out for next year. That was a group. They started 4 underclassmen, including Kiana Spivey, who we saw in the Big East girls tournament. She was the most outstanding player. She's fantastic. So, Rocky Mount a lot to build on coming out next year. Never count out Northern Nash. No. And Nash Central maybe finally having that big breakthrough season under Terry Cash.
Absolutely. So,
all right.
Now, enough of us talking. Let's have actual experts talk.
That's right, folks. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick commercial.
Okay.
When we come back, we're going to have Jimmy Lewis on the line for the Wilson Times. We're going to talk some Wilson County basketball. We're going to wrap it all up. Might even talk some baseball. Who knows? Open show.
More to talk probably about in baseball than basketball at this point.
There you go. We can do with that. All right, folks. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more of the all-new sports show here on WHIG TV.
Deals, deals. Come and check us out. PJ and PJ Sportswear.
Da porta picchita va bene, se tu la parla miezza americano, quando si fa l'amore sotto la luna, come da bene.
We open every day, Monday through Sunday. You come down here and we're going to take care of you. I don't follow the trend, I create the trend. I'm PJ, the trendsetter.
Hey guys, we're back here on the all-new sports show, WHIG-TV.
Yep.
Of course, folks, our sponsors going across the bottom of the screen throughout the show. Definitely check those guys out. They are the absolute best businesses in this area.
Yes. Patronize only them.
Because if they weren't the best businesses in this area, they wouldn't be on this show. We're also looking for more best businesses in the area, by the way, to add to our list. Joining us now from the Wilson Times.
Really.
Literally anyone with a checkbook. But joining us now from the Wilson Times, we bring on a sports writer, one of the absolute best friends of the All New Sports Show, a guy who is, the most solid, dependable doubles hitter we have.
Yes.
But he'll bring in the home run when the time comes. You like these baseball
Basically
references.
Mookie Betts.
He is Jimmy Lewis. Jimmy, welcome back after a long absence. Welcome back to the All New Sports Show.
Hey, Rex, thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely, Jimmy. No football to talk unless we know something about spring. Please, God, spring ball. No spring ball.
No.
God, I hate this state for that. But anyway, all right, Jimmy. We're going to start off with you. We're going to take just a quick, I guess we'll call it a victory lap through Wilson County basketball. Even though nobody took a victory lap. Jimmy, let's start in the 2A ranks. Let's start with Beddingfield. Now, you saw a lot more Beddingfield than we did. We saw one Beddingfield game this year. They didn't really look turned on for it, but this is a team that went 17-6 on the season. I believe had to be horribly disappointed about their first round loss to Bertie County. What can you give us on Beddingfield for the year?
Well, Beddingfield started outstanding. They started the season at 12-0. They won the Ferris and Ferris Holiday Tournament, and they seemed to have all the momentum in the world at that point after being 12-0. But in the second half of the season, they just really couldn't get it together. They started the season 12-0, but they were 5-6 at the finish. They were 7-3 in Eastern Plains Conference play. That was good enough to finish second. The two losses in conference play, two were to Farmville Central, who's undefeated, and they'll play for a state championship next week. And they also lost a game to Southwest Edstone on the road. When you think about this Beddingfield basketball team, at the start, it seemed like they had all the pieces. You had Ivory Huggins in the backcourt, you had Miguel Brown inside, Kenny Sims, the do-it-all guy who could shoot the ball, put the ball on the floor and get to the basket and just give you a spark in that regard. They had a high-volume shooter in Trey Raspberry joined them for the second semester. And at that point, I think they kind of struggled as to how they were going to fit Tay into the rotation and how he was going to affect chemistry and that sort of thing. I don't think they ever figured that out. And that probably played a role in their 5-6 finish.
Well, a talented team at the end of the day just didn't end up with the season they really wanted at it. Let's talk about another team that was talented but were just more than Beddingfield up and down on the season, and that was Hunt. Yeah. This is a Hunt team 2 years off now, an appearance for the state championship, and they still had some guys from that team. But, Jimmy, just weren't really able to put it all together this year for a whole season. Yeah.
No, they weren't. And it just seemed that on the offensive end of the floor, they just struggled to put the ball in the basket on any sort of consistent basis. As we went down the stretch of the Big East season, they struggled to break the 50-point barrier on quite a few nights. Yes, they do have some pieces from that state championship run. You think of Rashad Shipman, who on that state championship finalist team. he was really a shot blocker around that time. He had a steady presence off the bench around the basket. As his career developed, he started to expand his offensive game a little bit. But I didn't rely too much on the offensive end on Jamar Hudson this year. If he was able to slow him down, Hunt really could not find that second option in terms of scoring on any consistent basis. He looked in conference play at Southern Nash and Stanford. They really frustrated Hudson. He was really off that night. And Hunt had probably one of his worst nights of the season down there against the Big East tournament champions and the co-regular season champions in Southern Nash. So I really think Dwight Taylor, he's of course been around the area a long time. He's going to get the most out of his kids that he can on any given year. But in the case of Hunt this year, I just think they need that second option and just didn't step up consistently.
And Jimmy, just to round it off with Fike, this is a team who had some really good pieces last year. They kind of evaporated going into this season, and unfortunately, like a lot of Big East teams, a very up and down season followed for Coach Brent Seacrest and Fike High School.
And it was really the season of parity in the Big East, to put it mildly. Not one outstanding team, but not one bad team either. And Fike and Hunt found themselves tied for fourth at the end. And Fike's thing was they just couldn't put two sides of the coin together. I mean, the guards played well, the post didn't, and the post played well. The guards did not. When the posts were clicking, they were just as big as anybody inside with Clay Barnes, Spencer Strickland, and Rashawn Braswell. I thought Braswell was outstanding physical specimen down there with his ability to alter shots. But on the flip side of that, Braswell found himself in foul trouble a lot of the time, and that put one of Fike's best defensive weapons off the floor and took a big man out of there from away from the basket. Fike did have some flashes with the guard play. Cody Taven had some flashes from behind the arc. Clay Barnes to really get the job done as a combo guard forward. He could put the ball on the floor and get to the basket and those kinds of things. But in the end, Fike just had games where they had too many turnovers. They didn't shoot the ball well from the foul line. And it's just one of those seasons where Fike had the pieces, but they just couldn't put them together. And I think that's really the story for a lot of our Wilson County teams this year. Just too many bad nights and too many nights where they just couldn't put the pieces together.
Oh, and as we know from the Deadpool movie, you got to get those puzzle pieces together. Jimmy, you really have to. That's all I'm going to say. Jimmy, let's get you out of here on this. Baseball is already happening. What is the standout story coming out of Wilson for baseball this year?
Well, to be honest with you, I've only seen one baseball game this year. Earlier this week, I was hunting Eastern Wayne, 3-hour ball game that didn't seem to end. Lasted 8 innings. Eastern Wayne won it 8-7. Hunt had a chance to tie it in the bottom of the 8th. Jacob Williamson darted home on a wild pitch, and he was out of the plate. So Hunt lost that game by 1. It remains up in the air. I think Beddingfield's going to have a year where they're going to struggle numbers-wise than they did. I think they're going to try to fall for wins over the first-year head coach and Noah Eaton. I think Fike's going to be the team to really look out for in the Big East. I think they're a little bit ahead of the game right now as compared to Hunt. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Fantastic.
All right. That's what we thought.
Yes.
Fike might be the team to beat this year in Wilson County.
Kiss of death.
Oh, there we go, folks. We have destroyed them as always. Jimmy, man, we look forward to maybe seeing you out at the ballpark here in the next few months. And we thank you, as always, for joining us here on the All New Sports Show.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Jimmy, have a great night.
All
right.
It's Jimmy Lewis, Wilson at times. He's the man on the beat.
Yes.
And he talks to us.
Yes.
We could bring on Paul Durham. But Paul
He really talks to us.
Paul always tells me to call Jimmy. So I'm like, all right, we're calling Jimmy.
Yep.
Big thanks to Jimmy. Folks, coming up still, we have Josh Wallfish from the Rocky Mountain Telegram. We are going to give you some of our baseball picks for the year coming up.
Sure.
Lots of fun stuff left, so stick around because when we come back, might be your most exciting minute of the week.
Oh, you want to go there?
I'm excited.
I know you are.
Yep. All right, folks, we're going to
This show will really take a dive at this point.
It's harsh.
Yep.
Scene is harsh. Folks, we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have the second half of the all-new sports show right here for you on WHIG TV.
Deals, deals, deals. Come and check us out. PJ and PJ Sportswear.
Come da porta picchita va bene, se tu la parla miezza americano, quando si fa l'amore sotto la luna, come da bene.
We open every day, Monday through Sunday. You come down here and we're going to take care of you. I don't follow the trend. I create the trend. I'm PJ, the trendsetter.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone, here on the all-new sports show, WHIG TV. Hey, Green.
Yes.
We enjoy, as a collective, a sport that is not so much respected here in these United States of America. But
Season 21 MLS kicked off today.
it's coming around. America's sport of the future since 1972. Get ready for your most exciting minute of the week. It's time for 60 seconds of soccer.
The team who came back from the dead.
Oh, it's great.
That's us, always having to come back from the dead.
Yeah.
Oh, me.
Are you ready? I'll let you start.
Oh, thank you.
Go.
Folks, today, as Dame Rebecca Lua said at the conclusion of the Liverpool Crystal Palace match, it's good to see the happy, cuddly Jurgen Klopp back. Because Liverpool were down
Nobody likes an
1-0 and
angry
reduced
German.
to 10 men today. He was not a happy German.
It's an angry German.
He was an angry German. That's the German we're used to seeing by the end of the match as Liverpool first equalized and then took the lead in the dying moments by Christian Benteke being maliciously fouled in the box and hitting his penalty kick.
You saw it.
Liverpool 2, Crystal Palace 1. We're only 3 points out of 5th.
Oh, there you go. Wow, that was an horrendous call. Also, the North London Derby was this weekend. You can have your Carolina and Duke, my friends. We will have our North London Derby. And it will be amazing.
I mean that in the French way.
Oh.
Since Wenger was there,
Yeah. Great weekend in the Premier League, exemplified by literally half a dozen players being sent off by red cards.
Including sweet James Milner.
Oh, James Milner. Juan Mata.
The coveted little Juan Mata sent off in 2.5 minutes.
Oh, well.
It was magisterial. Folks, I'm
Title
going to
race
tell
isn't
you,
over.
right now is the time. If you want to jump onto this bandwagon and be one of the early ones on,
Yeah.
because once again, in 30 years when football's gone, this is going to be the sport. Jump on it right now because the Premier League race is electric.
It's not too late to hop on that Leicester City bandwagon. They still got room.
That's right, folks. There's still
You Carolina Panthers fans, you love them.
there's still a good 9 to
love
10
them.
teams that can finish in the top 4.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
it's
okay.
crazy.
I'll go.
Well, we're in 7th. I'd say Stoke below us. Let's go 8.
Okay, 8. I'll go
Give
with
me
that.
8.
Yeah.
Sorry, Everton.
No, you're not.
Sorry, Chelsea.
No, you're really not.
All right, folks. That
Yes.
was your most excitement of the week. If it was, sorry. Anyway, folks, welcome to the line now. It's going to pick up now because we welcome to the line a gentleman fresh off that Duke Carolina.
Yeah. The second
Showdown.
greatest rivalry in
The
sports.
guy who sat courtside and got kneed in the head at least 19 times by hideous Duke students.
Probably got tripped by Grayson Allen.
Oh, the Grayson Allen tribute, Josh will ask. Folks, from the Rocky Mountain Telegram, we welcome great friend of the show, Mr. Josh Wallfish. Josh, welcome back on the All New Sports Show.
Great to be back home on a Sunday night.
It's been a while.
It's the only place to be on Sunday night.
Great song. We love you, Stained. All right, folks. Josh, real quick, we're going to let you start there. In the house last night, North Carolina defeating Duke 76-72. The Cameron atmosphere, always electric. Give us the quick rundown of what it felt like to be inside the indoor stadium last night.
Well, it got loud, and it got louder, and then got a little bit quiet as Carolina pulled away, and then Duke tied it, and it just, I lost hearing for the rest of the game. That's basically what you get for Carolina and Duke. A lot of ringing in the ears, and a lot of semi-intoxicated Duke students sitting in that.
They're only intoxicated on life.
There you go. Yeah,
That's it.
I'm sure.
No alcoholic
The
beverages
NCAA would
allowed.
never allow that.
No, because they can't sell it themselves.
It's true.
Anyway. All right, Josh, let's talk about some other basketball, maybe some basketball we had set aside for the last week or so. We're going to wrap up basketball in the area. I think the two teams that were our stories of the year, on the boys' side, Southern Nash, on the girls' side, Nash Central. Let's start with Terry Cash's crew. This is a group that had been building for a while for Terry Cash, and this year she finally gets to reap some of the rewards.
And real quick on that, I feel terrible that the one time we did a Nash Central basketball game, it was that horrendous Christmas tournament game against Rocky Mount. They were better than that.
Really good. Just tell us a little bit about the ride of the Lady Bulldogs this year, Josh.
Yeah, when you look at Coach Cash's squad, one of the things that stood out is they finally had all those pieces together. You know, Michaela Elms, Maya Spivey, Robbie Allen. You know, Allen's a sophomore, Spivey and Elms are juniors. And when those three got together and they started playing basketball together, you know, Nash Central only lost twice. They lost, they lost 3 times. They lost to Northern in the regular season. They obviously had that loss to Rocky Mount in the Big East tournament, and they lost in heartbreaking fashion really in the playoffs. So those 3 girls were critically important, but one of the reasons why I thought Rocky Mount High was going to end up winning the Big East this year over Nash Central was I wasn't sure about how much we could trust Carisha Leonard and Rebecca Spite down low. But those 2 girls played out just some of the best basketball I've ever seen them play this season. And as much as Spivey and Nelms and Allen, they scored a lot of the points, it was Leonard, it was Spite, just kind of the small hustle plays that they did. You know, the great defense they played against girls that were 3, 4, 5 inches at times bigger than they were. They're the ones who really kind of made Nash Central click. And so we look forward to next year. Whether or not Terry Cash's group can repeat is going to be dependent upon whether they can get some of that front court depth that they're going to lose with Leonard and leaving at the end of this year.
And a team that didn't really rely on a lot of size this year. That was the Big East Boys Conference champion. That was Southern Nash. Made also a run to the 3rd round of the playoffs, Josh. But a lot of good individual talents on that team. And really for one of the best Southern Nash squads they've seen there in quite a long time for boys basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first conference championship since some dude named Julius Peppers was shooting up for them. Exactly. You know, so it's been 18 years since they won a conference championship. So for them to win it, obviously, it's a great feeling down in the southern part of the county. But the one thing is they lost some games that they should have won. And if we're going to be perfectly frank, they probably won some games that they should have lost. And that's not taking anything away from Coach Robbie Kennedy and his group. You know, like you said, there's a lot of talent. Marquise Wright, probably the most complete basketball player in in Nash and Edgecombe County. Just what he was able to do offensively, rebounding the basketball, playing great defense. You know, when he played well, Southern Nash was difficult to beat. When he struggled, Southern Nash really struggled as well, and that's part of the reason why Eastern Wayne and Western Alamance kind of gave Southern Nash a little bit of a trouble. Was Marquise Wright wasn't at his top game. He was in foul trouble. You know, wasn't getting things to shots to fall, and when that happened,
Southern Nash tends to struggle. We saw in the Big East Championship game against Rocky Mount. They're winning by 11 points at the end of the third quarter. Marcus Wright picks up a foul. Marcus Wright picks up his fourth foul at the end of the third quarter. Rockland hits the three, and all of a sudden it's a 1 point game, a blink of an eye because Marcus Wright is sitting on the bench. So I think for them, I agree with you. They maxed out what their talent was. When you look at some of the top teams in the East, they weren't as talented as them. And if they gotten a different draw, maybe they wouldn't have actually got to the third round. But they got a favorable draw. They took advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. Team you mentioned, of course, in the Big East Finals, and I believe one of our stories of the year, definitely. Rocky Mount, who obviously traditionally the big dog in the area. Paris State titles, of course, in the last 5 seasons for Mike Gainey's squad. And even when they're not winning state titles, they've been really good. Yeah. Man, for 13 games this year, they were really, really bad.
We saw them at Hunt in that first week of the Big East playing. It was terrible.
I mean, when we're talking about Rocky Mount going 0-13, I'm talking they weren't competitive. Yeah. They were getting beat by double digits every game. I mean, this looked like a team that was destined for the season. Bad. And then, Josh, suddenly something just completely clicked in conference play. Hey, they end up as, co-winners of the Big East Conference this year.
Yeah, and let's perfectly frank here. I don't know what was the bigger story. How well Rocky Mount played at the end of the Big East season, or how poorly Northern Nash played at the end of the Big East season. Because when we saw that game of the Christmas tournament between Northern Nash and Rocky Mount High, Northern Nash was just dominant. It didn't look close. It looked like Northern Nash was going to potentially run away with the Big East Conference with the way they played in that game. And then you fast forward a month, and Rocky Mount taking it to them at the end of January for their first victory. And once they won that game, all of a sudden things started to change. Like, they've done it. Why can't we do it again? And that belief started to build upon itself, and all of a sudden they're sitting there as co-champions. But also, let's not forget, when you look at the Christmas tournament, number 43 wasn't playing for them. And there is a lot to be said about the leadership Sherrod Green brings on and off the court. The same sort of leadership that made Rocky Mount High state champions in football is the leadership that allows the Griffons to really turn their season around in late January.
And for the turnaround Rocky Mount had, as you kind of mentioned, Northern Nash kind of mirrored Rocky Mount, where they started off the season great, and then completely fell off toward the end of the year. This is a Northern team who, now while we expected them to be good, when you look at the roster, this was still a team that was a year away. But just, maybe talk about what happened to Northern this year when they were showing so much promise.
I'll say this much. If I actually had the answer to this, I guarantee you this Grace would be willing to pay me a lot of money to figure that out, because they were the most popular team in the Twin Counties this year by far. Because we went from seeing them in games where they looked like the team that could win the Big East. We saw it in the first round of the Big East Conference tournament against Sac Central, where they just systematically decimated the Bulldogs. We saw it sporadically in when they won their 2 Big East games, the same sort of thing. They were machine-like. They were running their stuff. They were playing great defense, and they're like, that's the team that can win the Big East. But they just couldn't sustain it, and for the life of me, I don't know why. Because it's not as if the players changed. It's not as if the competition changed. It's one week they were able to stop Josh Mullins, and then the next week Mullins is going out for 40 against them. And I really don't know what changed, because it looks very similar to me. So it's a puzzling situation. I agree with you that when you look at next year, they're bringing a lot of pieces back, and that's very, very helpful for them. They can learn from this season and potentially be even better next season. But going back to Rocky Mount High, they have players that were used to winning and could build off of winning. And Northern Nash hasn't had a winning season in recent memory, and they don't have a lot of players who are used to winning consistently. So I think that is an issue for them, that they don't have that winning mentality, in some key moments, and all of a sudden those 10 games are going the other way, and you go from potentially being 6-4, maybe 7-3 in the Big East to being 2-8.
Taking what you said about a winning mentality, about a tradition of winning, let's go to our fourth Nash County team.
We are going to touch on that. Okay.
I'm not piling on those. I promise
right.
God. Nash Central goes into the last week of the regular season. I mean, they've got it. The Big East title is theirs. All they got to do,
I believe you wrote at one point, Josh Wolfish, that Nash Central has basically locked up the Big East regular season.
All they had to do was win one game in the last week, and the next thing you know, they never win again.
To answer that, right? So I ran through all the situations. Okay, so when they had 2 games left and Rossmont had 3 games left, because they had that midweek game against Pike, there were 20 possible permutations for the Big East Conference standings. 19 of them had Nash Central winning it. The one that didn't have Nash Central winning it was the one that actually came true. That exact sequence of victories. So, from the odds perspective, they were 95%. And granted, one could say that the 5% was probably the most probable of the 20 computations, but that's the sort of thing that happened. And it's not like they got blown out. They lost by 2 to Hunt in overtime. They went to Southern and lost by 1 in overtime. And whether you want to admit it, whether Rennie Taylor will admit to it or not, those 2 losses had a devastating effect on that team. They went from potentially being Big East champions to all of a sudden having to go on the road and play a Southern League team that was very, very good. And talking to Montre Cash before one of the National Girls games, he was like, listen, they've watched our games though. We are very beatable if you do 2 or 3 things right. And that's the part about Nash Central that I think was so magical about their season this year was we talked about a team with a lot of holes. It was Nash Central. Nash Central was undersized. They relied so heavily on outside shooting. They relied so heavily on Mullins and Cole and Cash to be hitting from deep that it didn't seem sustainable. And yet they kept doing it. They kept pressing teams. They kept forcing turnovers. They kept playing fast. And Mullins kept scoring 40 points. And you're like, maybe it is sustainable. But at the end of the day, it wasn't. And Hunt and Southern Nash, they found ways to frustrate Mullins, to frustrate Cole, to force Cash to shoot maybe more shots than necessary. And it's just like, let's let Keyshawn People beat us. We'll let Keyshawn People score 30 points, but if nobody else scores 30 points, we think we can score enough to beat you guys, and that's exactly what happened. And it's unfortunate, but, you talk about teams that are returning a lot of players. Elijah Cole is gone. Keyshawn Peoples is gone. Josh Mullins is gone. Nash Central is going to be basically starting from square one again next year with Montre Cash at the point and probably Travis Griffin, playing the 4 or the 5, and those are the only 2 real extended contributors who are returning. So a major question mark for Coach Randy Taylor and his squad next season.
Well, hopefully.
And what's so unfortunate about that is, for the last few years from Coach Randy Taylor, all you'd hear is, well, we're young. Well, now suddenly you have these seniors, and they were doing well, and then it all just came crashing down, and now it's just, you're back to, as you said, back to square one. You're young again. And, God, it was a tough year for Central. I just have to say this out loud. The 20 scenarios, one way you lose. Central found that one way. Sorry, I'm a jerk, but I don't mean it.
Josh, give us the nickel version of the great baseball preview you guys had in the Rocky Mountain Telegram today. Baseball just coming up. We're going to be doing our first game this week. What do you guys see out there?
So a couple of things. Pat Smith is back at Rocky Mountain High, and that's very exciting, and he's kind of reinvigorated the Griffons a little bit. They got a lot of great talent at Rocky Mountain High. You look at David Harrison kind of leading the way, an NC State commit for baseball. So they're looking to maybe even challenge fight for the Big East title. Northern's got to find a way to replace Derek Carter. who was simply sensational for the Knights over the past couple of years.
So much fun to watch.
Nash Central had a lot of young arms last year. Can they sort of take that next step in maturity, maybe contend? You look at Southern Nash, they were kind of up and down a little bit. Can they, find them hitting? But for me, the most interesting team in my coverage area is going to be Southwest Edgecombe because you have Marcus Williams and Quattrellis Norwood playing baseball for the Cougars. And one of the things talking to Coach Charlie Langley is they don't have a lot of the raw baseball skills, but they are very, very talented athletes.
Yes.
And he said, when you think about it, there's some balls hit to the outfield that those two guys can chase down. Now, whether they catch it is a completely different story. But they can chase them down and really put a lot of pressure on teams if they get onto the bases. For example, is they played Harbor on Thursday night, and Marcus Williams hit a ground ball to shortstop and beat it out. Any other athlete, any other baseball player would have been thrown out of first base by at least a couple of steps, and Marcus Williams beats it out. So that's the sort of thing that if they can get that more consistently, they can kind of maybe even flirt with getting back into the playoffs as an automatic qualifier out of the Eastern Place Conference instead of waiting and hoping for a wild card like they got last year.
Well, Josh, whether you knew it or not, you just gave us an excellent preview for next week's All New Sports Show when we'll be doing Southwest Edgecombe at Rocky Mount. So thank you very much for that.
And Josh, just one thing to add on that, taking a look at you guys' preview, it seems like there's a really heavy number of guys coming back who were all area picks last year. I cannot remember the last time that your all area pitcher and hitter both returned the next season. Of course, Landon Roop and Tyler Barrett both back this year. So, while I don't think anyone has an extremely clear picture of what this season holds in the area, it should be exciting because there's some really good baseball players back.
Exactly, and like I didn't even touch on Faith Christian and Landon Roop and the Thomas Foster. The improvements Landon Roop has made over the past year makes him a very, very scary prospect to face because he had a 1 ERA last year, and if you're telling me he's going to be better than that, that's bad news for a lot of the teams Faith Christian's going to be playing.
Yeah, Faith Christian, one of those teams to watch out for. Josh, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. We look forward to talking with you over the course of baseball season, and then later on when we come back our next live show, we'd love to have you and see how the Big East is shaping up for baseball.
All right, sounds good, guys. Have a great night.
All right, thanks, Josh.
Josh.
So
Josh Wallfish, Rocky Mount Telegram.
Yeah, that'll about do it for this show.
That will just about wrap us up for tonight.
Just like we wrapped up basketball.
Oh, that's right. Basketball is
an air ball.
Basketball is an air ball. No, Ed, we're not doing that. Basketball was a swish.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
A lot of good teams, not a lot of great teams.
I got thrown out of a church league game once.
Yes, you did.
Famous story. All right, folks. Next week, Ed previewed it already. We will bring you our first baseball game of the season right here next Sunday night on the All New Sports Show. We are heading to
the capstone.
Thank you. I was going to let you say it instead of me having to say it. Rocky Mount Southwest Edgecombe. Pat Smith returns to WHIG TV. Well, at Rocky Mount, I guess. Not that he hasn't been there at RMA, but still.
But and as he mentioned, you have two players, Rocky Mount with their NC State commit, and Southwest Edgecombe with a lot of talent. Will it be baseball talent? We'll see.
Jarrett Mobley, one of those returning all-area players from last year. He's a good one. Both teams definitely have good building blocks. But that'll be the show next Sunday night, so we definitely hope you guys hop in, join us. It might be 80. So we're going to be.
Of course, in the meantime, check us out on our social media. Absolutely. Facebook, just search All New Sports Show. YouTube, you see on the bottom there, The All New Sports Show. Tweet us at All New Sports Show. You are?
At Wes Bradshaw 21. The drive for 300 continues.
I am at Edward Green. Email us allnewsportshow@gmail.com with your questions and comments, as well as mail us letters and parcels one more time to 1701 Sunset Avenue, Suite 201, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, 27804. Check out the Foreign Affair podcast. Champions League this week.
So, yeah, it's a big week. We love the footy.
Of course.
Folks, big thanks to one-name producer Lee. He's the man flipping the switches on the show tonight. Joining us tonight from the flock of Ravens, the gaggle, the murder. The murder. It's baseball. Unfortunately, your blue is a little light. Unfortunately, it says Red Sox. Go Sox. For one-name producer Lee. He is Rico the Raven. He's at Green. I'm not wearing baseball, but I've got my Punisher shirt on.
Daredevil coming next week or 2 weeks from now. Who knows? It's fine.
And guess what, folks? We're going to find out on TV. Was OJ guilty?
Yes.
It can't be proven. Folks, I'm Wes Bradshaw. We will see you guys back here next week on the all-new sports show. You're on WHIG TV. Yeah. Good night, America.
Here comes the cross. Lamella is there. Chance here. The equaliser. Alderweireld has done it. Fine. Alderweireld just wanders into the 6-yard box. The zonal marking. Missed the first chance as a Chadley, I think it is, and then it just falls to him. Ramsey, the only one back.
Here's Kane. We'll try the shot.